Alrighty, so just like that, the 2024 MLS regular season has officially come down the curtain, and in the words of Maximus from the Gladiator movie, you're not entertained in terms of what we saw in Decision Day. I mean, Decision Day always tends to live up to its hype, and boy, did so. Especially when we talk about tomorrow, looking at the games of the Western Conference, where it was absolutely bonkers in terms of what we saw late in some of these games, and MLS After Dark was pretty much in full force in terms of some of these Western Conference games. But that being said, that doesn't mean there was no drama in the Eastern Conference Decision Day game as well. And in today's video, I'll basically talk about those 7 games that happened as part of the Eastern Conference version of Decision Day. And there were definitely some controversial call that we'll talk about, especially one that really changed the playoff race in this video as well. But let us actually begin with the first game, and really let's just kind of get this out of the way. And this is no disrespect to Chicago or Nashville, but this is probably the meaningless game in the Eastern Conference this day race. And when I do the Western Conference version, we do have another game that is kind of similar to that. It's between two teams I've already eliminated. There's really nothing to fight for. So let's just kind of get that out of the way by talking about Chicago versus Nashville. And I'll say this in terms of this game, it was kind of competitive. It looked like, even though both of these teams had nothing to fight for, they were still trying to finish the season strong. But in the end, it's Nashville, the one that finished the season the stronger side, or at least with a win, with a 3-0 win. But in the first half, Panico would deny Mueller from close before Kuipers hits one right to Panico. The Fire was definitely on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the opening goal. Zierman then hits it wide from close range before Surridge puts it wide from close in the 31st minute. I thought Nashville started kind of getting into the game after a slow start, and we're looking for the opener. But we do head to halftime with the score scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Yazbek had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. But then in the 54th minute, Nashville would takes the lead, and it's Alex Mille who, for whatever reason, now he cannot stop scoring goals for Nashville. I mean, this is a guy that really has never been a goal scorer, even during his time with the New York Red Bulls. But lately, he's been on a hot streak. He scored again here from Godoy to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. By the way, Nashville has some of the most unlikeliest assists man in this game as well, and that doesn't stop when we talk about the second and third goal of the fact that you can't believe that guy got the primary assist for this Nashville team. But anyway, Mukhtar did look for another as he was trying to dink this one over Brady as he's in on goal, but his shot just didn't have enough power. Costa was just able to get there in time to clear that one off the line. Then Brady denied Surridge from close in the 74th minute. Nashville was pushing for another as the Fire. They looked like they were already in early off-season break mode, but it seems like they probably saw what I right there, because this is when they started to press for the equalizer hard. Panico would deny Kutsias, but it followed to Jimenez, who can only blast this one into Lake Michigan. Before Kutsias would hit one right to Panico in the 81st minute, and I even wrote, maybe the Fire is not in off-season mode, as they were now pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. Panico would then deny Gutierrez, though Panico did bobble this one, and he's very fortunate that he was able to gather it before allowing a rebound. But he then denied Kuipers from close just a couple of seconds later. But then in the 87th minute, and really kind of against the run of play, Sam Surridge would score from Randall Leal to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. Yes, Randall Leal is still a Nashville SC player. I mean, I know he hasn't been featured a lot for this Nashville team. A lot of that is due to injuries and really him falling down the pecking order. And as I also mentioned in the Moving Forward series episode about Nashville not long ago, unfortunately they cannot move on from Randall Leal contract. There's a lot of bad contract in this Nashville team that they're pretty much going to be locked until next season, and also that kind of came off of some just non-existing defending there from the Fire. The fact that Surge just kind of cut open that Fire defense that really didn't look like they were interested in terms of putting a fight. Yeah, that you're gonna see that happen, especially in a meaningless game, and you also will see it in some of these games where teams have nothing to fight for heading into decision day and already are eliminated. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Jacob Schaffelberg would then score from Godoy to make it 3-0 for Nashville. Again, Honorable Godoy, when's the last time he's able to finish a game with 2 assists? It's been I don't remember a game where been able to get 2 assists and being the main playmaker. But either way, in the end, Nashville gets the 3-0 win. The shots in this one, 12 shots for the 17 that Nashville has, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that the Fire has, 3 shots off target for the 2 that the Fire has, 8 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. So yeah, Nashville, they'll be happy that they finished the season strong, but ultimately both of these teams have a lot of work to do heading into the offseason. And unfortunately for Nashville, again, they don't really have a lot of room in terms of their roster to make some move because they're still locked with those bad contracts. But for Chicago, at least the good news for them, they do have some room to do so. And now that Greg Berhalter is going to start to look at this team and see what needs to be changed in the off season, and especially as I think the big victory for the Fire heading into this off season is the fact that at least they got rid of probably the worst contract in MLS with the Shaqiri DP contract during this season. Now they do have some wiggle room in terms of work with and sign a DP caliber kind of player to maybe put up some fight heading into next season as well. Now, moving on, and now that we got the meaningless game out of the way, now let's talk about games that actually had some meaning and some interesting storyline. And we start off with the game that it was a battle between a team that's trying to set the points record, and then the team that currently has the points record and trying to avoid giving the other team a points record. I know that kind of sounds a little confusing, but that's kind of what we had in this game between Inter Miami and New England. Miami trying to set the points record. New England, who of course holds the points record coming into this game, looking to avoid doing so, but unfortunately, it did not happen. I mean, this was just a 6-star performance by Inter Miami as well, though it didn't start out well though for the host. In fact, just 2 minutes in, Langoni would score to make it 1-0 in favor of the Revs. In fact, that actually happened 75 seconds into this game, and at this point, you're thinking maybe New England might be not only be a party pooper, but they might have got the message from Caleb Porter that they're gonna do everything to deny Miami for taking their points record away for them. Though unfortunately, it feels like only the attack kind of got that memo because as we'll see, the defense clearly didn't get that memo for New England. Suarez did look to respond, but he missed wide before Ivicic was able to deny Gresso from close. I thought it was a good response for Miami. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Poster then missed wide from close in the 19th minute before Ivicic denied Suarez from close in the 20th. Suarez then missed wide from long range, and then he missed high from long range just a couple of minutes later. And you just kind of had a sense that it was a matter of time before Miami will tie it, and especially if you're just going to keep giving Luis Suarez a chance, he's going to bury one. But instead, in the 34th minute, quite shockingly, New England were able to double their lead. And it's Dylan Barrero scoring from Yusuf to make it 2-0 in favor of New England. It was completely against the run of play. And yeah, Drake Callender, this is definitely one that he does not want to look back. I think that out of some of the howlers that Drake Callender has made for Miami, and yes, he has had some bad moments too, even though he's been an excellent goalkeeper for Miami. This is probably the worst one. I mean, this was just a one back counter. He knows that he easily should have gathered this one. This shot from Barrero, it just kind of slipped under him, and then I think it was Alvarez, the one that was trying to clear it off the line, couldn't quite do so, and yeah, shockingly, New England were up 2-0 up to this point. Suarez then looked to respond, but missed wide on the header. But as I said before, if you keep giving Suarez a chance, he's gonna bury one, and he did. As in the 40th minute, he scored from Taylor to make it 2-1 up to this point. And then just a couple of minutes later, he would score again. This time from Yannick Bright to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I mean, that's just vintage Inter Miami, isn't it, from this season? This is a team that just because you have a 2-goal lead against them, it means absolutely nothing for them. They can turn it around in a quick flash, and that's exactly what we saw again, and especially with Luis Suarez, it feels like this game, with him missing those chances early, he just need one to get that monkey off the back, and he finally do so, and it's no surprise that eventually he got another one, and now was chasing for a hat trick. Well, that being said, on the other end, Veroni did look to respond, but he missed wide on the header and really was on the doorstep of goal. I mean, that is one that New England and Veroni should score, and especially as I even mentioned, New England, if they want to keep their points record, they have to make sure that one goes in, and it should be 3-2 at halftime. But instead it's 2-2 heading into the second half, and in the second half, Baroni would miss wide on the header before the post would deny Suarez on the doorstep of goal again as he was looking for his hat trick. But then in the 58th minute, Miami would take the lead for the first time of the game. It's Ben Kamaski. He scored from Alba and Messi to make it 3-2 in favor of Miami. This is actually just seconds after Messi was introduced in this game. Now, coming into this game, there was a question, would Tata Martino maybe play some of his best player? Yes, he kind of did that, but he did at least save Messi until when we get into the last 30 minutes. Again, it's a bit risky to try to do that because get some water as well. I'm starting to cough here from all the excitement from the decision day. That is, but yeah, it was a bit of a risk in terms of the fact that in a game where you are chasing the points record, but you also don't want serious injury. It was kind of a risk to keep still put your best player in it. And the good news for Miami, not only eventually getting the points record, but they don't have injuries to worry about. Nobody got serious injury after this game as well. Though Ivicic then denied Gomez from long range, the Reds back line was clearly in Cancun mode. I mean, it was non-existent ends up to this point. Though in the 70th minute, it looked like we had another twist in the tail when Bobby Wood put the ball into the back net. But unfortunately, the goal was disallowed, and it was disallowed because VAR deemed that Wood handballed this one before he tucked this one home. And by the way, this will also foreshadow of what we see a call similar to that really changed the playoff race. And I'll say this right now, so maybe I can save time down the line talking about that controversial moment. It's the right call. It's the right call because the rule of the game is the fact that it doesn't matter if you accidentally handle the ball, as we see in this case, where it was actually a great save from Calendar, but he kind of bounced that one off Bobby Wood, but unfortunately Bobby Wood handballed this one, and I know he doesn't meant to handball that one, but anytime when you're an attacker, when you accidentally handball or deliberately do so, and you basically use that as a way to score a goal, that's always going to be disallowed. So rightfully so, it's the right call. It remains 3-2 up to this point. And then just a couple of minutes later, Messi would take over this game. He scored from Suarez to make it 4-2 in this one, and also this is kind of when New England just kind of flat out quit. Just a couple of minutes later, he would score from Alba to make it 5-2 in this game. By the way, the first goal that Messi scored, what a goal this was. Just a vintage Lionel Messi goal. I mean, you can question the defending and certainly the closing down for New England, but the greatest player of all time, I'm always shined in those moments, especially score those great goals as well. But yeah, like I said, up to that point, it was 4-2. It was 5-2 after Messi scored from Alba. And then it was 6-2 when he scored from Suarez and Campana to complete the hat trick up to this point. By the way, with this hat trick and also getting the assist in this one, he becomes the first MLS player to come off the bench to register a hat trick and also grabbing assists. So more record that is being broken by the greatest player of all time. I mean, we shouldn't expect anything different, don't we? But either way, in the end, Inter Miami they lift the shield in dramatic way with a 6-2 win over New England. The shots in this one, 25 shots for the 8 that the refs had. Yeah, it's safe to say that refs back line just didn't show up whatsoever in this one. 4 shots on goal for the 11 that Miami has. 5 shots off target for the 3 that New England has. No shots on blocked for the 6 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that New England has in this game. And by the way, they also announced that after them lifting the shield, and the FIFA president, Infantile even mentioned the fact that Inter Miami has officially enter the Club World Cup as the host slot for the Club World Cup, and I believe they also are going to be playing the opening game at Hard Rock Stadium for next year's Club World Cup. So, I mean, that's not a big surprise. I mean, we knew that was coming. It was pretty much the biggest secret in MLS that it was eventually that Inter Miami was going to be that team that will make it to the Club World Cup based on the fact that there's always one host nation team that make it into the Club World Cup, and we'll see how they, of course, will do so. And especially, the other thing that we kind of saw coming is that Club World Cup next year, it feels like it's more of a money grab. And what a better way to have a money grab than you have a team full of former Barcelona player, and especially the greatest player of all time being in there. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. And now let's talk about the playoff race in the Eastern Conference, because coming into this game, there was four teams chasing for those two spots coming in to this decision day. Montreal and DC, of course, are the two teams that's sitting in the driver's seat. But the question is, can both of these teams still be in that spot at the end of decision day? Well, first talk about Montreal, and coming into this decision day, I already mentioned in the preview how Montreal has not had a good record when it comes to decision day and have suffered so many heartbreaks on the decision that they not getting it done. But in this game, they were able to get it done. And what's also kind of interesting is that they also mentioned that Montreal has never beat NYCFC at South Saputo. In fact, there's only twice that they beat NYCFC in their club history. One at Yankee Stadium, and then one time during the COVID torn season. That was, of course, down in Florida and down in Orlando. So yeah, the odds were kind of stacked against Montreal in this one, but they defied the narrative and defied the odds by getting a 2-0 win. And really, the story of this game was kind of Montreal really showed that clinical finishing in the first half, and then they kind of packed it in the second half. Now, early on, Clark with the first shot on the free kick, but he puts this one high before Parkswood puts it wide from long range, as that was also the first shot for NYCFC up to that point. The shots were 2-1 early for Montreal, and really not much happened early in this one. That all changed in the 19th minute when Caden Clark would score his fourth goal for Montreal since moving to Minnesota from Duke and Marshall Ruddy to make it 1-0 in favor of Montreal. So again, thank you, Minnesota, in terms of giving us Caden Clark, and has been really been one of the big attacking spark to this Montreal team down the stretch, and their late playoff run, hopeful run down the stretch as well. Martinez did look for another, but he was absolutely robbed by Matt Freese there. Fortunately for him, it wouldn't have counted either way as the flag went up for offside. Gray then puts it high from long range, and also I just realized this is when I kind of messed up here when I was writing the notes. I forgot to put the last couple of part of the Montreal and NYCFC notes, at least in the closing moment of the first half. So here we go again, looking at the notes like I did during my trip a couple of weeks ago in Florida and in St. Louis. But NYCFC again continue to control possession up to this point, but they really haven't created too much chances. Rodriguez then hits one that was spilled by Siwas, but was able to gather on the second attempt. And then right as we thought that Montreal was going to head to halftime with a 1-0 lead, Joseph Martinez give Montreal a little bit more cushion as he scored here from Clark to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal. Really a vintage Joseph Martinez goal. We know how dangerous he is as a poacher during his day with Atlanta, and while he hasn't shown much of that during his time with Montreal, he definitely showed it here to make it 2-0 in favor of hosts, and that would be the score line heading into the second half. Now let's get back to the board here, because this is when I have caught up in terms of forgetting to put some of the notes on the board. But in the second half, NYCFC continued to control possession, but haven't created much chances to begin the second half, which I thought that favored Montreal, knowing that they need a win or a draw in this one to make it into the play-in round. Sands would then heads one right to Siwas before Martinez would puts it over from close range. Martinez then puts it high on the doorstep of goal. And by the way, this is Alonso Martinez that I'm talking about. I probably should have put the initial first name for both Joseph Martinez and Alonso Martinez so you don't confuse me. But at least I, of course, mentioned it during this review. But yeah, NYCFC, they were looking to try to get one back as Montreal has started to kind of put their foot off the gas a little bit. Now, usually that's kind of a bad thing, because you never want to put your foot off the gas, even if you're leading by a couple of goals, because we've seen those goals being blown this season. However, Siwas would deny Martinez from close in the 80th minute, and this is Alonso Martinez, of course. And then Fernandez would puts it over from close in the 83rd minute, and that was really the last chance NYCFC would get in this game. As in the end, it was an easy 2-0 win that Montreal has over NYCFC. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 5 that Montreal has. Both team had 4 shots on goal, 1 shot off target with the 6 that NYCFC had, 6 shots off block with the none that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Montreal has in this game. But overall, for Montreal, they move on into the playoffs, and not only moving on to the playoffs and playing the play-in round, they also get the 8th seed as well, which means that they would be hosting the play-in round on Tuesday as well. And again, just a really comfortable victory for this Montreal side. And you got to give a lot of credit to Laurent Courtois' side, a team that they had battle adversity throughout the season, but really started to look really good down the stretch, and they have a chance to do that and carry that momentum into the playoff as well. But for NYCFC, I believe they finished the season as the 6th seed. They were going to be playing against FC Cincinnati in the first round. Yeah, that is not going to be an easy matchup. Even though FC Cincinnati has been kind of fading lately, this NYCFC team, the biggest problem that they have this season is that on the road they have not performed very well this season. And now that they don't have home field advantage heading in to the first round of the playoffs, there could be some really big concern for Nate Cushing side. Now, moving on in the next match. So with Montreal, of course, winning, getting the 8th seed, that means only the 9th seed is left to play. There's only one playoff spot. So is it going to be DC, Philly, and or Atlanta that is going to get that 9th seed? Well, DC looked like they were going to be the team that get the 9th seed. In fact, they were heading into this decision day only needing a draw to get that 9th seed locked in, and unfortunately they didn't do that. And I would say that this game is pretty much a microcosm of DC United's season. The problem for DC this season is, while they have play some really good soccer at time, they can't do it for the full 90 minutes. And when they don't do it for the full 90 minutes, when the defense started to collapse, yeah, this is kind of the result we got in this game between them and Charlotte FC. And not to mention, they also have not done well at home. They actually have the worst record in the Eastern Conference at home this season as well. In the first half, 1 minute in, Kalina would deny Benteke just 30 seconds into this game, as I thought DC controlled the possession early. They were pressing for the early goal, while Charlotte was elected to sit back and counter. Benteke then just missed one on the outstretched leg before Kalina denied Stroh as the flag went up in the 10th minute. DC, again, really just shot out of the cannon up to this point. They were really pressing hard from the get-go for the first goal, but can they show that clinical finishing? Benteke then hits one right to Kalina. The shots were 4-1 for DC up to this point. Urso then hits one right to Bono in the 30th minute, and really thought Charlotte started to kind of grow into this game. They had to absorb a lot of pressure early in this one. Now they were looking to trying to score against the run play and take the lead. Though Martin Rodriguez would then puts it high from long range, and then Benteke looked like got the well-deserved 1-0 lead for DC. Problem was he was in an offside position, so the goal was chopped off, and he wasn't offside by that much, but unfortunately still offside, so remains 0-0. But as I said, DC was knocking on the door. They were pressing hard to try to get the lead, but they know that they have to get that lead, because if they don't get a draw, and in case of Charlotte is able to get the goal to take the lead in this one, they could be in some serious trouble, knowing Atlanta and Philly up to this point were winning as well. Ajiman then hits it just wide from close range in the 45th minute, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Santos sends one to the Chesapeake in the 52nd before Kalina would deny Stroud from close not long after. DC kind of picked up where they left off. They were pushing to try to get another. There was a shout for a penalty for DC that was not given, but then in the 57th minute, really against the run of plays, Pepiel would score from Bronico to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. It came off of a lightning counterattack, and that would also be the ultimate downfall for DC in this game, where they just had no answer when it comes to dealing with Charlotte transitional play. In the 61st minute, Bono would then deny Vargas from close range. Guess what? That came off of a lightning counterattack, and I even wrote DC was just getting absolutely killed on the transition. And in a way, I'm not surprised, because you knew that they had to go for it. Like, knowing the other resort was going against them, they need to score or to tie the game up to get themselves back into that 9th seed. And in Loy, they did it in the 66th minute when Benteke put it into the back of net. Problem was, he was offside again, and this time it wasn't as close as the first time. So yeah, the game remains 1-0 in favor of the visitor. Enel then puts it high from long range. DC was definitely pressing hard for the equalizer, again, knowing that the result up to this point means that they will miss out on the playoffs. They were pressing hard to try to get that equalizer, but every time when they try to press hard and send men forward, that means they left themselves completely exposed. And guess what? In the 75th minute, it happened again as Patrick Ajiman would score from Bronico to make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte. And the reason why I said it happened again is it basically was a carbon copy of the first goal. It was a lightning counter attack from Charlotte, catching DC, putting way too many men forward, and just like that, Charlotte had the 2-0 lead, and that goal really just not only silence Audi field, but just completely damper the spirit for DC. Vargas would then puts it over from close range. I even wrote DC. They look like they're down and out, and we're staring down at elimination. And again, the defense looked like they were in Cancun mode up to that point. There was a shout for a handball for Charlotte, not given. Bono then denied Schwadetsky from close before Patterson would look to try to add the icing on the cake, but he puts it wide in the 89th minute. But you know who did add the icing on the cake? Leo Abada, as he scored in the 5th minute of stoppage time from Schwadetsky to put the icing on the cake and put the third goal for Charlotte. And in the end, the final score with Charlotte winning 3-0 against DC. The shots in this one, 14 shots apiece for both of these teams. Of course, Charlotte started getting more shots late in this game because, again, DC looked like they just completely gave up after giving that second goal. 7 shots on goal compared to the 3 that DC had. 7 shots off target compared to 4 that Charlotte has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Charlotte has in this game. By the way, with this win, Charlotte moves up to the 5th position. They are going to be facing against Orlando City in that first round matchup. That should be a heck of a matchup because those are two of the hottest team heading into the playoffs that are not named Columbus and Inter Miami. So that should be an interesting kind of matchup. But for DC, they miss out on the playoffs, and really they have no one to blame but themselves. I mean, this has been the problem for this season where they just haven't played a complete game, and also not being able to win at home as well has ultimately been led to their downfall. And there's no doubt in the moving forward series episode when I mentioned about what's the biggest weakness and what went wrong for this DC team and what they need to focus, it's got to be that defense. That defense has to be overhauled this off season, and we've seen it more times than not this year that defense kind of let them down. And I also feel really bad for Christian Benteke too, because when's the last time a player win the Golden Boot and not be able to make it to the playoffs? And that that again, I think there's no doubt that the team could get better heading into next season. There's no doubt they need to find an answer for their defense, and also not only that, but also win games at home. That also was kind of the downfall of Minnesota just last year of not winning home games, and yeah, for DC it's their downfall again this year as well. But either way, now I am not going to even stop this video because what's the point of stopping a video on decision day when I can just switch the board manually, because we gotta look at the other resort. And as I said, with DC missing out on that night spot, now all of a sudden it opens the door for both Philly and Atlanta to trying to sneak into the night spot. Well, Philly had a chance to do so, and you kind of had a sense that they could with the way that they're facing against Cincinnati, a team that they play relatively well this season. And it's not a big surprise because, again, this has always been a game that is a battle between the master and apprentice, that is Jim Kern and Pat Nolan. And in this game, even though Philly has had some success against Cincinnati before, they really wish that it come into play in this one, because in the end they actually lose this game against Cincinnati. Though it looked like it was promising early in this game, as just 2 minutes into this game, Quinn Sullivan would score from McGlynn to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. Yetlin did look for an instant response, but he hits the sign inning. Acosta then puts it wide from close, and I thought it was a good response for Cincinnati up to this point. They were pressing for the equalizer. Blake then denied Yetlin on a free header. And by the way, I didn't write on the board on this, but around the 14th minute, Daniel Gastak had to be subbed out with an injury, and that was a huge blow for the Union up to this point. I mean, he's a big part of that attack, but now that he's not available, you kind of have a sense that throughout the rest of the game that they were going to be in trouble, at least on the attacking end, and they were. In the 22nd minute, Serotano would deny Baribo from long range before Oriano tried to chip the keeper from long range. We've seen him do that a couple of times this season. Sometimes was successful, but this time Blake was able to get back on his lines in time to gather that one. We then had some displeasure between both of these team, as the Davy and Sullivan kind of exchanging some choice words. Again, not big surprise because both of these teams they do not like each other whatsoever. Origiano then hits one right to Blake in the 37th minute before Santano denied Uru from close range as both of these teams were exchanging some chances. The question is, who can get that next goal before halftime? Well, Acosta tried to do so. He curls it wide from long range, but then in the third minute of stoppage time, and really, we were about to hit the halftime whistle, and you know how the old saying you always either likes this to score right on the stroke of halftime, or you absolutely hate it. I mean, for the team that scored right on the stroke of halftime, it must be drooling, but this was an absolute backbreaker for the Union because literally we were seconds away from them getting a 1-0 lead and they concede here as Emil Assad scoring from Kubo to tie the game up at one apiece, and they have no one to blame but themselves. The Philadelphia Union of conceding this goal. I mean, while it was a great goal there from Assad, just the Union didn't clear their lines and they paid the ultimate price for not clearing their lines, and instead of them heading to halftime with a 1-0 lead, it's tied up at one apiece. And then in the second half, it's more disaster happened for since or not for Cincinnati, but for the Union. It was actually great for Cincinnati because literally come out the stroke of halftime, and you already conceded late in the first half. The last thing you need to do is concede it right in the beginning as well, and that's what happened. And really, just this moment kind of just sums up the Philadelphia Union in a nutshell. As Glesnes not only scored an own goal there, but probably in the worst possible time to have a defensive breakdown down here, where Glesnes and Blake kind of had some miscommunication. Glesnes kind of backtracked, not knowing where Andre Blake was actually charging down to almost like he was trying to get there, and instead Glesnes basically back past it, not knowing Blake was not on his lines, and that one goes into the net. And yeah, that made it 2-1 in that one. Wait, surprisingly, I would say that this actually is not the worst own goal we've seen this decision day match week. There was some really bizarre own goal that was scored. There was even one that could be as bad as what we seen in this moment. But yeah, just like that, Cincinnati was leading up to this point, and besides that horror moment, then we didn't really see much that has happened in the remaining of the second half, and that is bad news for the Union. They need to wake up. I mean, I know that moment is an absolute gut punch, but they need to show some fight to try to win this game and make it to the playoffs, especially what happened in, in that DC game that is. Oriano then puts it high on the free kick. And really, as the time winds down, where in the world is the pushback from the Union? They look like they're just staring down elimination, and it's just way too comfortable for Cincinnati to just kind of seize this one out. Baribo then hits it wide from close range before Sullivan had a shot that was deflected and wide in the 90th minute, and it just kind of felt like the Union finally woke up and started to show some fight, but just way too late up to this point. As in the end, Cincinnati they win 2-1 in this one. They knock the Union out of the playoffs as the shots in this one 15 shots for the 12 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that the Union has, 1 shot off target for the 3 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots on block for the 8 that the Union has, and possession wise 54% possession compared to 46% possession the Union has in this game. And this is the first time that the Philadelphia Union did not make it to the playoffs since 2017, and as I said, pretty much throughout the season, and I'll mention in the moving forward series episode as well. It's time to dismantle the core. It is pretty much time that this core that we've seen from the Union has brought some great moments for this team. Have got this team multiple playoff appearances and especially multiple deep playoff run, and even got them to an MLS Cup and a Supporters Shield win as well. But the bottom line is, this sport clearly doesn't have it anymore when it comes to make a deep run and get over the hump, and it's just getting to a point where maybe it's time for transitional period and a retool period for the Union, whether they want it or not. But for Cincinnati, at least they got a win heading into the playoffs to really get at least some sort of momentum again. They this is a team that looks like it's sliding down the stretch. It looked like for a while maybe this team could be surprised to get knocked out in the first round. But the good news, at least for Cincinnati, is that they do play against NYCFC in the first round. I think that is probably a matchup that will favor them, considering that NYCFC themselves haven't really done very well. Well, they actually I take that back. NYCFC has done well down the stretch, except when they're not playing on the road. When they're playing on the road and playing at Red Bull Arena. When they're playing on the road and not playing at Red Bull Arena, they're still very dreadful. So Cincinnati might have a chance. It just I don't know if this is going to be a team that's going to be enough to make a deep run and trying to avenge what happened last year in the Eastern Conference Final. But with that being said, with me saying that the Union didn't make it to the playoffs, that means that the team that made it into the ninth seed and really just a team that coming into this game, they mentioned I think this team only had like a 3% chances of making the playoffs. But hey, against all odds, Atlanta had made it to the playoffs. And by the way, I actually really debated before I did this video, should I wear Atlanta or should I wear Inter Miami for this review because well, I want to wear Inter Miami because they broke the points record and they also win the Supporter Shield. I decided to wear Atlanta kind of at the last minute because again, it feels like it's kind of against all odds. The fact that not only Atlanta needed to win this game against Orlando, have to do it on the road compared to the other team I mentioned gets to play at home, but they need other result that goes in their way. So not only the fact that they're able to win on the road, but also got the resort on their way. I mean, it's got to be something that I know the expectation this season is for Atlanta to make it to the playoffs as a bare minimum, but just the way that they're able to do so and all the adversity that they had to battle with losing players to sell and bring new player as well. Bravo, Atlanta. And also, I would say that obviously that this is the game where we had that controversial moment. Though, as I already mentioned in the Inter Miami versus New England game, the controversial moment was very similar to the disallowed goal that Bobby Wood had that would have tied the game up for New England up to that point. But early on in the first half, Guzan with the denying our Rujo, but Ojeda did get the rebound there, but he puts that one high. But then in the eighth minute, Atlanta would take the lead, and when you need a win and need a goal, who do you want to call for? It's got to be Sabat. Love Janitze. You know Sabatan has to come, and he has single-handedly carried this Atlanta team at time on the attack, and especially scoring some crucial goal as well. Does he score here from Amador to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta? Ojeda did look to answer, but he puts it high from long range. But then in the 60th minute, Atlanta doubled their lead. It's TRA, the one that doubled their lead for Atlanta. But yeah, just some poor defending there from Orlando. Not clear their lines whatsoever. And just like that, it was a 2-0 lead for Atlanta. It was an absolute dream start for Atlanta. But again, up to this point, the odds were still kind of against them. There were still other teams that they need to lose, or they need other teams to lose to get to the playoffs are winning right now, and that even with the good start that they had, they were not going to make it to the playoffs. Enrique then puts it right to Guzan in the 20th minute. We then go for a period where not much really happened. So that changed in the 42nd minute when Ojeda would get one back for Orlando. He scored from Santos to make it 2-1 in favor of Atlanta, and then Ojeda himself looked to try to tie it up not long after, but he puts one right to Guzan, and really you kind of had a sense that all of a sudden Orlando has the momentum and they were pushing for an equalizer. And if you're Atlanta, this is when you're a little concerned because up to this point, I thought Atlanta has played relatively well. They've been playing a very good road game, but the last thing you want is to give up another goal before or halftime to head to halftime all tied up. And Ojeda had a chance to do so again, but his shot was deflected and goes right to Guzan. And we do head to halftime with Atlanta holding that fringe 2-1 lead. Though in the second half, they had a chance to restore their 2-goal lead when a penalty was given to them after Verholsen brought down Lobjanidze in the box. So here comes Morenchek, a chance to double or restore the 2-goal lead for Atlanta up to this point. But he doesn't, as Galese comes up big to save Morenchek's shot from the spot there. And up to this one, I actually was almost going to write, is this moment going to come back to haunt Atlanta United? And you just kind of had a sense it was going to because you have to restore the 2-goal lead. You cannot be heading in the latter stretch of the game with just a 1-goal lead. And knowing Atlanta has had issue holding on to leads, and they always have some dramatic moment, whether it's good for them or bad bad for them or just kind of go against them or go and fade them late in this game, you just kind of sense this one goal lead is not going to be enough for Atlanta. Angulo then puts it wide from long range before Lennon hits one right to Galese in the 67th minute. Santos in the 73rd minute puts it high from close before Ladero would hits one straight to Guzan on the free kick as Orlando was really pushing hard for this equal. And I even wrote this might be the longest last 7 minutes plus stoppage for Atlanta United because they were just barely holding on for dear life, trying to get this win, which up to this point they were actually in the playoffs because other teams were able to help them out. There was a shout for a handball that was not given for Orlando being a penalty, but then in the 90th minute, to the horror of Atlanta United fans, Ingram McGuire would put it into the back of the net, or at least that's what we thought that was the case because they then go to VAR to see whether or not if McGuire actually handballed this one that led him to score the goal, and he did. So yeah, again, going back to what I said earlier, it's the exact same thing with the Bobby Wood situation. It doesn't matter if you accidentally handle the ball if you're an attacker. If it led to a goal, it's always going to be chopped off as offside. So yeah, Atlanta pretty much thanking VAR for that big moment here. Just a complete out for them to keep their season alive. And even though Orlando did push hard again to trying to get the equalizers, trying to show that cardiac cats kind of moment again, Atlanta survives. They win 2-1 in this one. They're moving on into the playoffs as the ninth seed in this one. The shots in this one, 21 shots for the 9 that Atlanta has, 5 shots on goal for the 10 that Orlando has, 7 shots off target for the 3 that Atlanta has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 3 that Orlando has, and possession points, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And the good news, at least for Orlando City, this loss doesn't really hurt them when it comes to getting that fourth seed and getting home field advantage because the NYCFC also lost their game as well as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, for Atlanta United, they must be. I'm pretty sure all Atlanta fans not only take a huge sigh of relief, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of them need at least about 10 or even an hour to try to breathe a huge sigh of relief and celebrate that they made it to the playoffs. That is probably the one of the craziest way for a team to make it to the playoffs. It looked like they were going to be out because of a goal they gave up late, only for VAR to save them. And again, just completely against all odds, Atlanta somehow made it into the playing round, and we'll see whether or not if they can do do something in that playing round. I mean, ideally, I don't think they're going to be favored heading into that playing round against Montreal, especially they're facing against their former teammate who just happened to almost ended their playoff hope a couple of weeks ago. But we can see what happened. I mean, there's an old saying: once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen, and we'll see whether they can do something against Montreal in that playing round. And then finally, heading into the last game on this board is the New York Red Bulls and the Columbus Crew, and we might be seeing a That's So Metro moment very early before the playoffs begin because this game was a That's So Metro moment for the Red Bulls, and coincidentally, both of these teams are going to be facing against each other in the playoffs in the first round as well, and something tells me it's going to be a pretty quick 2 games for the New York Red Bulls because yeah, again, it just feels like this is already a sneak peek preview of the That's So Metro moment being inevitably happening in the playoffs again. Now, in the first half, and just 2 minutes into this game, Columbus takes the lead. It's Aziel Jackson. He scored from Cucho to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. I believe that's Jackson's first goal for Columbus ever since he arrived from St. Louis, and he was very active in this game as well. As he was then looking for another goal, but was denied by Cornell in the 4th minute. Columbus definitely came to play early on this one. They were pressing to try to get another. Cabero then puts it wide from long range before Arpston puts it wide from long range in the 10th minute. But then in the 14th minute, Shaberko would score his first career MLS goal from Jackson and Matan to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus. And yeah, that is one that Carlos Cornell, I think he should have done better. I mean, yes, he did get a hand to it, but it just feels like that's one that he should save in terms of the caliber that he is. But Columbus wouldn't care. They were 2-0 up to this point. Looks like this was going to be easy for the Crew on the road in this one. Cabero then looked to response, but he heads it right to Hagen before Jackson. Looked like he scored his second goal of this game. Looked like he made it 3-0, but the flag did not agree with him. The goal was disallowed for offside. The Red Bulls, they look like they were all out of sort defensively up to this point. Though that can happen when you're facing against a lethal team like the Columbus Crew, who, by the way, they did not really rest a lot of players. Cucho Hernandez was still playing in this one, which is kind of an interesting decision by Wilfred Nancy, knowing that they didn't have anything to play for. Though I guess maybe it's just kind of a tune-up for what we'll eventually see in the playing round as well. Morgan then was in on goal, but he was denied by Hagen in the 30th minute before Cornell denied Cucho from close in the 38th minute, and then Hagen would put, or I'm sorry, not Hagen. Morgan would puts it that wide from close range in the 40th minute before Hagen denied Cabrero from close, as both of these teams was pressing hard to try to get the next goal. But we do head to halftime with the Crew leading 2-0 against the Red Bulls. In the second half, Hagen would deny Morgan from close before the post would deny Harper from close range. The Red Bulls definitely started the second half the better team, but the question is, can they get one back? Well, before I said that, Cucho would puts it just high from close range, and then Cornell was able to tip Arpston thought over as it feels like the Crew kind of woke up after a bit of a slow start in the second half. And in the post would deny Frostberg from close in the 61st minute. Yep, it's one of those games for the Red Bulls, isn't it? It's one of those many games that we've seen this season for the Red Bulls where they just cannot finish whatsoever. It feels like they're getting blue ball either from the opposition goalkeeper going Manuel Neuer on them, or the post just not being their friend. Morgan then hits it right to Hagen in the 66th minute before Manuel would puts it high from close range. But then the 78th minute, Emo Frostberg would score from Morgan to make it get 2-1 in favor of the Crew. So when all things are in doubt, Emo Frostberg is going to try to bail out this team. I mean, I think it's no surprise that, well, I said the Red Bulls have had their problem in terms of finishing. They have definitely been a little bit better lately, and part of that is because Emo Frostberg is there. He is still a guy that really is the only guy out of this team that have consistently been able to show the clinical finishing, and he did exactly that to make it 2-1 in favor of the Crew. And then they had a chance to tie it up just a couple of minutes later as they were given a penalty after Camacho brought down Manuel in the box. This is going to be the biggest liability for Columbus heading into the playoffs. And I've said it before, they simply got to clean it up defensively and just not beat themselves so many times. I mean, there's just been so many times we have seen it happen in this season as well, and here just a silly kind of mistake there from Camacho. There was no need for him to bring down Manuel in the box there, and he did. So that allowed Emil Frostberg to tie the game up for the Red Bulls, and they do exactly that. They tied the game up at 2 apiece up to this point. Morgan then were looking to try to get all 3 points for the Red Bulls, but he was denied by Hagen, and then Rossi puts wide from long range, and it looked like this game was going to end 2-2. And then that so Metro moment happened, as in the 7 minute of stoppage time, Molten Amundsen, the former NYCFC player, he scored from shot post to make it 3-2 in favor of Columbus. And while it was a good goal there from Amundsen from long range, where in the world was the closing down from the New York Red Bulls? I mean, there was no closing down whatsoever. I mean, they just basically gave Amundsen a root tour goal, and he basically hit it down Broadway, and just like that, Columbus was able to get the 3 points up to this point. They win 3-2 in this game. Shots in this one, 19 shots for the 14 that the Red Bulls had, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that Columbus had, 5 shots off target for the 2 that the Red Bulls had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. And again, if this is going to be a sign of what we see in the playoffs, at least in the first round, something tells me this is going to be a very quick first round playoff game. And while it might be still entertaining as what we saw in this game, again, I said it before and I'll say it again. This team has one and done written all over it, the New York Red Bulls, and that's a so Metro moment seems like it's going to continue into the playoffs as well. Because if you decided to kind of have that kind of moment, and I know I said before in the playoffs anything can happen, but we've been seeing it so many times that's so Metro moments inevitably going to happen for this team, and it just feels like they're on the way of doing the same thing. I think between them and a couple of teams I'll mention in the Western Conference that I have no faith in terms of them doing anything in the first round. Yeah, they're definitely one of those teams that I just have no faith that they're going to be having any shot of moving on into the next round. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these Eastern Conference games during Decision Day. And if you thought this was chaotic in terms of what we saw saw in the Eastern Conference during Decision Day. Wait until tomorrow when I talk about the Western Conference game and how one team able to sneak into the number one seed on the very final day, really literally the final second of Decision Day, as well, and how the seating was just like a turntable. I mean, it was just going up and down in terms of where each team eventually finish in at the end of the decision day and at the end of the 2024 MLS regular season. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.